I am here in Medjugorje and I'm with, what's your name?
Dave.
And Dave, where are you from?
I'm from Tennessee.
And first time for you here in Medjugorje, Dave?
Second time.
Why do you come back?
Because 2 years ago I had a wonderful experience,
Yeah.
and I was just awaiting the time to have the opportunity. My wife has passed away since,
Oh.
so I'm alone now, and this was a good place to be.
You feel consolation here?
Absolutely.
And how would you describe it to somebody who hasn't been to Medjugorje? Why is that consolation here? I felt it as well. My brother died last year, same. And you have this pain, I understand you. And
Well,
yeah.
I would say that unless you already have faith,
Yeah.
which is a gift, unless you already have faith, that there would be no sense to come here.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that people who have no faith would ever bother or would ever believe or would ever take the time or expense. It's not inexpensive, but it's something that was important to me. And I can't call them children. They're not young anymore. I have grandchildren. They all understand that Grandpa needs
Time.
some time.
I can imagine. I mean, this is. What would you tell people? You are from that generation who have long marriages,
51 years.
51 years. What do you give your children and grandchildren as an advice? How can you have that long marriage, 51 years?
Make sure that when you marry, that you marry someone who has the same beliefs as you, or is working on having the same beliefs as you, or you're willing to have the same beliefs as that person. Make sure of that first. That's first and foremost. No matter, and my wife was absolutely beautiful.
I can imagine.
When
Like
we
you.
were-
Yeah?
She was absolutely beautiful. I look at her pictures now and show them to people, and they say, well, what I would say is that I got way more than I deserved. But appearance isn't everything, as we discover in our age, in our 70s and older.
Yeah.
But I would say that as young people date or are involved, thinking about marriage, for instance, that you must have, and I believe that the faith aspect is the most important thing, that you must have the same beliefs. You may not always agree on how you follow your beliefs, but if you don't have the same beliefs, I don't believe that you will have a long marriage.
Yeah.
Is that
so-
clear enough?
Yeah, absolutely. So Christ was in the center of your marriage,
Absolutely.
and it went well.
I was inspired by my wife, who was not Catholic when we met.
Wow.
And on her own, after we knew each other well, on her own, she went back to graduate school. I was already in the Navy. She went to graduate school and in another city, not far, but I didn't see her like every week. And so one time she called me and she said, what are you doing this weekend? And I said, well, same thing. I'm working on Saturday, not very much time off. I said, why? She said, I want you to come to this city where she was. She said, I want you to come because I'm making my first communion and I'm being confirmed.
Wow.
I absolutely was floored. I was stammering over the phone. I said, what? And she said, well, will you come? And I said,
For sure.
I'll be there.
In 5 minutes.
As soon as I can get in the car
Yeah.
for this. So I asked her then, and we did this,
Mm-hmm.
and she became a Catholic. She was a Baptist. In the south of the United States, that's a very big...
Baptist is a big church there, no?
But it has nothing to do with Catholicism, beliefs, or anything else.
Yeah.
She was first of all, way smarter than me. Very intelligent woman. She studied. She went, I said, so how did this come about? She said, well, as we dated, as we got to know each other, I realized that I thought you would make a good husband for me. And I said, oh, I was way ahead of you on that one. I knew, I just didn't know how to go about this. I was afraid you would turn me down. So I said, so what? She said, well, and this is, we were not engaged yet. And she said, well, I believe that when a man and a woman marry and have children, that both parents should have the same faith and that the children should be raised in the same faith. I was floored. This is the truth. This many years later, this is 60 years later, I couldn't believe what I was hearing, but yet I could. She was so sincere, and she meant it. So she sought out a priest. She was in a different city. She sought out a single priest, and he took her through one-on-one through what in the U.S. we call RCIA, and I think they've renamed it right now. But,
yeah, it's the same.
But she went through the whole thing, and then when it was time, she called me and asked me if I would come. She never told me. I was shocked, and that sealed the deal.
That sealed the deal. I would say the same thing. This is amazing. And you went through so many experiences. You were in the Navy, you were a pilot, right?
I was a combat pilot, yes.
Combat pilot.
I flew off of aircraft carriers, Top Gun fighter
Top Gun
jets.
fighter jet.
I was not Top Gun,
yeah.
But I did that for 20 years.
And there's really that school, Top Gun, where the best of the best, they go there?
It's the best of the best, and they were flying different kind of airplanes than I flew, but I was flying
combat airplanes. Did you go to war as well?
I was actually on my way to Vietnam in the late part of the war, and for whatever reason politically, they changed our aircraft carriers mission, and they said, never mind, you're not needed there now. And I would like to think that I lived to be this age because the plane I was flying was very much being hit.
Yeah, wow. Thank God.
I do thank God, because I would have never experienced. We were married already. However, not in my control. I signed up to defend my country and to be. That's the way I was raised, and that was the way I believed, and I was willing to do my service. But no, as far as you asked me about combat, never really. I came close 2 or 3 times in the Middle East. I was over in the Middle East in 1970. Let's see, I'll make sure I get my wars right. It was the October War for the Israelis. My carrier was off the coast of Israel when the whole world was coming apart for Israel. We had 2 American aircraft carriers stationed there, and we were flying missions, and it was never publicized very much. But I was never shot at, but they certainly had the good opportunities. We were there.
And what would you tell after all this experience to young people? What is your life advice to an 18-year-old starting the life?
My life is, if you're a patriot in your country, and I realize that what we're doing here will go to people from many different countries. If you are a patriot and you have a military a service obligation, perhaps, that you should embrace it, because if you don't, who will defend your country against the evils in the world? And we certainly have evils in the world, as you can see every day on the news.
Exactly.
I would say you should be patriotic. I don't know that that's as popular as it once was, but I would encourage young people to think about it that way. Not they advertise in recruiting. Oh, we will pay for a college education if you do this, or you will do this or do that. Well, that's fine, but the bottom line is, if you are a patriot for your country, U.S. or otherwise, then you should serve your country, even if only for a few years. That's what I would say.
Amazing.
Now, whether they believe this or not, I can't say.
But this is the old school. But the world was more stable in the old school.
It's definitely old school.
Yes, but it was all more stable. We see it now. It's all falling apart because we don't have the values you were educated. I learned it here in Medjugorje again, all these values.
Yes,
patience.
It's not just patriotism, it's your faith and your overall beliefs.
Yeah.
Like you said, the beliefs are not there with the generation, the same age as my own my own, I have two sons and a daughter. They're 51, 49, and 46. They still have my values. But,
Of course, you were good parents and educated
I'm
them.
hoping that they will raise my grandchildren the same way, because all around them, people don't have the same values.
Amazing what you are saying. You prayed with your wife the rosary together?
We prayed our rosary many times. And Tom, Cheryl's husband, Tom, was a leader during the COVID. We set up a, what did you call this, where you could, everybody
WhatsApp, online, prayed the rosary, yeah?
Online, but we would have a group of us, about 10 of us, that would all be doing this.
Yeah.
My wife was very ill at the time, but I can see her sitting, you'll love to hear this, sitting at her place, and I was sitting in my place in our home.
Yeah.
And we had our rosaries that came from Medjugorje, because Tom and Cheryl had been before and gifted us rosaries. I used the rosary that they gave me. Hers was blue in color, and she was praying the rosary as best she could, but we sat together and did this very often.
Wow. And you felt, there's this old saying, a couple that prays together stays together?
Without a doubt. But as I said, clear back 50 years earlier, we already knew that we shared our faith. Even though she was Baptist, it's the same God.
Yes.
But when she saw what the Catholic Church offers, when she saw the Eucharist, when she saw the sacraments, and I saw her see the sacraments for the first time.
Wow.
That enabled. She was a teacher by trade, and she later, in every parish when we moved with the Navy, every parish at least 3 times during earlier years, she always, not only did she teach, we called it CCD, catechism, whatever, she taught that, but later she always ended up being the head of the program in these different churches. She fully believed, there's no doubt, but she also used her gifts as a teacher to convey that to her students.
Amazing.
And that to
Passionate
me,
about her faith.
yes, but
Wow.
teaching them what was in the lesson, but they could see that no matter what their parents, no matter what, at least their parents were sending them to the class, but she could teach them, and then we pass this on. Our daughter is a teacher in a Catholic school right now in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, wow, Santa Monica Catholic school.
Yeah, she teaches
Beautiful.
there, and our daughter is a graduate of the same university where I was gifted to go, and that's Our Lady's University, Notre Dame.
Wow,
And
so beautiful.
now
And
we
what?
have-
Yeah. What
now
would
we-
you? Yeah. Sorry.
Now we have a granddaughter who is a senior in her high school in Dallas, Texas, and she's already. This is only 8th grade. She's in St. Ursuline Academy in Dallas, Texas, and she's choosing her university now. She's a senior, and I think that she's going to go to Notre Dame as well, because there's something. It's not just about football in the U.S. There's something that was instilled in me starting in 1964. It's there. The Blessed Mother is there. She's on top of the dome of the. If you've ever seen the photos, in gold, real gold.
Yeah.
That's Notre Dame.
Wow.
And that, I never had the opportunity to go to Catholic schools when I was growing up. But when I was admitted to Notre Dame, my priest said, "You are going to a Catholic university." He said, so when I did that, it totally set my life. The Blessed Mother was with me there, I'm quite certain. And we have a grotto there at Notre Dame. You can look this up online. It's a model of Lourdes.
Wow.
And it looks very much like it, the rocks, the whole thing. But as the story always went, is that it was very crowded there during final examinations.
Okay, I can imagine.
That was my background.
Yeah.
And I encourage my family to do the same. My youngest son went also to a Catholic university. My oldest son did not. But anyway, we all believe, and the Blessed Mother, which is why I want to come here.
To say thank you also.
To say thank you and to just feel it. You just feel it.
She's here in Medjugorje. You can feel that she's present here in Medjugorje.
Oh, absolutely. We've been here. We leave on Monday. We've been here for 8 days already. Tom and Cheryl are very good travel agents.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt in my mind that she's here because I've been up on Apparition Hill, and my knee is too bad to go on Cross Mountain. But yes, she's there. You can feel it. I feel that when I'm here, and non-Catholics in the U.S. at least have this thing that well, you're praying to Mary.
Yeah.
Well, you're asking Mary for intercession. Mary is not your God. Mary's the mother of your God. And if you ever want something from someone, if you get your mother to ask them for that, you understand.
Check that out. Then you understand the relationship. That's for our Protestant friends.
They don't get it.
She's not a goddess. We just ask for intercession. You explained it very well. And if I may ask, you had a long marriage. When problems came up, how did you solve the problems? A lot of people
pray.
You pray together?
But also, we believed so strongly that when we married, in sickness and in health, and rich and poor, all the vows, those vows things.
Yeah.
We believed them, and we talked about those, and it was especially difficult if I would leave for 6 months to go on the aircraft carrier and go away, and she would manage our 3 small children. She was up for it, but she was the perfect mother, and that inspired me sometimes. And if she were here to ask you, she would embarrass me by saying that I inspired her. So that I'm talking about spiritually.
Wow.
And that was the relationship we had. And no one is married for 51 years that has no disagreements or whatever. But it came down to there was never a way ever that we would separate or we would divorce, or that was never a thought. That's my blessing to me. But that's when I say I was so fortunate in my marriage.
And how did you meet her? Did you knew when you saw her the first time that's the person for your life?
Well, she was so attractive. How could I not?
Yeah.
Really. And the more I knew her father was a career Air Force pilot.
As well.
He flew in World War II, as a matter of fact. And he and I hit it off perfectly when we started dating. But we often told people in later life, we knew after our 3rd time just having a date, third time, that we had both found
each other.
Yeah. And that was
So
just
beautiful.
It's a great story.
Yes.
But it's the truth.
Yes. And confession is so important here in Medjugorje. What would you tell young people? What is the beauty of confession, of a Catholic confession?
Once you believe that you're absolved, that you can make mistakes, that you can sin. We're all sinners, and even the Pope would tell you that he's a sinner. I don't know how that works, but I've never heard a priest that ever wouldn't say, "I too am a sinner." I don't want to know why, but when you're talking to a young person who may think, "Well, I've really messed up now. This church thing is not working." I would say to the young person that there's no sin. I've been told this.
Yeah.
There's no sin that you can commit that won't be forgiven when you ask through the sacrament of penance, of reconciliation. There's no sin that you
Absolutely
can commit,
true.
even if you
Killed somebody.
even if you think otherwise.
Yes.
You will be forgiven if you ask. That's what I would say. And in this world today, the things that young people face with the media, the social media, all the different things that are out there that are just wrong, they need to have their faith to overcome getting into trouble, doing the wrong thing. They need to have their faith to help them. that's what I would tell them. And that may sound like superficial, and it may sound like, what does that old man know about anything? Well, we all have our temptations. We are all sinners, and anybody that wouldn't admit that is not telling the truth.
Wow, amazing what you are saying. And our faith states when we are in a state of grace, we can receive the Eucharist.
Yes.
Explain the Eucharist. It seems the young people don't understand anymore.
I don't know how they can miss it. It's Jesus. It's the body and blood of Christ. It's everywhere in writing and in teaching and everything. I don't know how they can miss it. Maybe when if they made their first communion when they're 10 years old, or maybe a little too young. I can't. I'm not a teacher. My wife was the teacher. I think that if they see that also the adults around them believe what I'm saying, what you're saying, what you agree with. If they see that with the adults, they have to say, well, they're old-fashioned or whatever, but at some point it'll hit home. That's what I can say about the Eucharist. And when they see how the devotion to the Eucharist, when we do adoration, what are we doing? Are we just sitting there, or are we using our phones to play a game, a video game? No, we're looking at Jesus Christ. But that's not something you can tell anybody what they want. Ultimately, the belief that is Jesus. That's what you have to get. And that's a gift. We don't earn that. That's a gift, the belief. But you have to put yourself in the position to observe and to pray, especially pray and think about it. That's all I can say to a young person. But can these millions of people be wrong? Look around, millions of people. Go to adoration. Oh no, it's not so cold outside. Where it's out in the pavilion here, when you see 5,000 people adoring Jesus.
Silently,
and that should tell them something.
Wow, amazing what you are saying. And you have a favorite place in Medjugorje you like a lot here?
It may sound funny. I sing. I've been gifted with singing, but when it was our group's turn to have the ministries and everything, I was nominated to be one of the people to pass the collection to the church. There were 4 of us. What am I getting to? Well, we did what we were supposed to do. We come back and we give the sacristan the basket, and then we sit down. I am 5 feet away from Melinda, and you know who I'm speaking of.
Yes, Melinda, the violin player here in Medjugorje.
When she plays the violin or when she sings, I feel like I'm next to a saint. I've never heard anything. That's my favorite place, and to be this close to her, sitting up in that box there, up in the front of the church. I have to say that's the memory I go home with, and I'm going to go online and I will find somewhere there has to be a CD of her playing her violin and all. But every time I see her now around, I saw her today twice. She will look and she will smile. Now whether she recognizes me from the thousands of other people that are here, I don't know, but she has to be a saint here on earth. That's my opinion. But just the way her voice when she sings today at Mass, or when she plays the violin, or that's my favorite.
Amazing. Same for me. It's touches the heart, right deep into it. No, pierces the heart.
I've had a lot of experience with music, but I've never heard it more beautiful.
And please pray for Melinda, pray for Roland, the people who have been here. They do a tremendous job, and the whole team who are playing the guitars. There are many more behind. And what did you take out of Medjugorje? Did you receive healing here? Special graces?
Peace.
Peace.
I'm ready to go home now.
Yeah.
And I won't be able to describe to my Protestant neighbors why. If they ask, I will tell them what I think, but I will say that I have peace, and that's my answer to your question.
Consolation also.
Which helps with peace.
Yeah.
Consolation helps.
And-
Because as long as we've been married, it's 2 years and 7 months now since she passed away. I cared for her the last 2 years myself, and I had some help, but I dropped everything else because why? And she loved me for it as long as her mind. She had a brain damage and lost her mental faculties towards the end. But I promised her we would never go to a home. We would stay in the home that we built, and that's what we did. And when I'm at my home, I'm never leaving that home until my kids say I'm too old to drive or something. But no, it's our home, and it's way too big for me.
Yeah.
But it's our home. Every room is her. Every time I think of anything, when I'm at home or about, it's that many years and I'm still not.
How do you get through that? What would you tell people who lose their spouse or husband?
Think of the good times. Don't think about anything, disagreements or anything like. Think of the good times. Think of the blessings that assuming you married in the church and believers, think that the gift that God gave you was your spouse, the one that you lost, and you pray. In my case, I've talked with our priest about this, knowing her and knowing that she had what we used to call the last rite. She was anointed, and she was still knowing what was going on. I'm quite convinced that she's already in heaven.
I have this strange feeling as well.
And I want to join her.
Beautiful, yes. Oh, you will. This is like, we all should become that gentle as you are. Gentle, kind.
Well, anything I have is a gift. It's not me.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It's a grace. And
So-
what would you tell at the end people, why come here? To Medjugorje one time. What would you tell people, why come here?
Well, first of all, you can tell some people that perhaps can't afford it. It's very expensive to come from where I live. But if you can save your money, it's better than a trip to the beach.
It is?
It's better than anything else if you want to strengthen your faith. And even if you don't think you need to, you will strengthen your faith. And as we age, people my age, if you're not thinking about that, you're not thinking right.
Yeah. You say the same because like life there's no sense if you invest, a lot of people invest in their exterior, in their body, but we decay. So you also see that we have to invest in the soul, make our soul shiny, be in love, in a state of grace.
We have to try our hardest, yes.
Yes.
But we're also,
Yeah.
I'm setting an example,
Yeah.
not just for my own kids, they've known me all their lives, of course,
Yeah.
my grandchildren. Some are grown already.
Yeah.
The youngest is 8.
Yeah.
8, 10, 13, 17, 19, 24, and 26. That's
Wow,
my
beautiful.
grandchildren.
And what do you want to tell them here in Medjugorje? What would you tell them, yeah? You want to
well,
say hello and say,
Well, I don't know that they would ever see this,
Yeah.
but I would tell them that Grandpa's doing fine, and the reason is that I'm close to Jesus and I'm close to Mary, and this is, I think, as close as you can get.
wow, thank you so much for that interview.